Ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time we have a legitimate conversation as to whether or not Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson should be considered a movie star. Not only does a majority of the films he's involved with typically suck, but now they are also underperforming. The Rock's ego may not allow him to see it, but we as paying customers certainly do. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
So it's being reported that The Rock's new movie Red One opened with $34.1 million in its domestic box office debut. The movie had a budget of $250 million that doesn't even include the roughly $100 million in marketing costs. No one with any level of standards should be surprised by this outcome. We all saw this coming. The only people who are surprised by this are the shills who tried to convince everyone, including themselves, that this was going to be somehow this generation's The Santa Claus.
You serious?
This is people once again underestimating the importance of one Tim Allen. If you don't believe me, then just ask Lightyear. The reality is, Red One doesn't have an ounce of the charm or staying power that Tim Allen's holiday classic had, and most people know that. And as far as the budget for this movie goes, when exactly is Hollywood going to learn their lesson? $250 million before marketing costs is an absolute waste of money for a movie like this. For comparison's sake, we'll look at Oppenheimer for a moment. You know, the Best Picture winner that apparently inspired The Rock to release Red One in theaters. Oppenheimer's budget was around $100 million, less than half of Red One's budget. I think studios need to start to understand that throwing a lot of money at an idea isn't enough. First and foremost, the idea has to be good, but beyond that, you need to have the right people in place to bring that concept to life. Is the Jumanji reboot director the right person for that? I have my doubts. You see, they don't seem to understand that you need to sell audiences on a concept like this. We are well past the point where people are going to watch movies out of morbid curiosity. Movie tickets cost way too much, and people have been burnt way too many times before. Which brings me to the main person responsible for this movie existing. And of course, I'm talking about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Outside of the Fast franchise and the Jumanji franchise, which are both somewhat recognizable names, what is the last thing that The Rock did as an actor that was culturally significant?
Not a damn thing!
I know some of you are going to say Moana, but I think that has more to do with the Disney connection than it does The Rock himself. Plus, he's only voice acting in that. But let's see what we have as far as The Rock's filmography goes. We have Red One underperforming. We have DC League of Super Pets, which came and went without much impact. We have Red Notice on Netflix, a movie that absolutely nobody gave a shit about. We have Jungle Cruise at Disney, which was a complete abomination. And let us not forget Black Adam, the movie that was supposed to change the hierarchy in the DC universe. That movie was so irrelevant that DC decided to reboot the whole franchise again right after it was released. They had to learn the hard way that nobody cares about Black Adam enough for that character to be able to carry an entire movie. And The Rock, most importantly, apparently isn't a big enough draw to get people interested either.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
So what conclusion are we supposed to come to based on the information that is given to us? The Rock is a recognizable face. He gets paid a lot of money. He's a producer. And apparently he has a lot of stroke in Hollywood. But to me, at this point, to call him a massive movie star is a bit of a stretch. There was a time when a studio could sell an entire movie just by attaching someone's name to it. Names like Schwarzenegger or Stallone. Hell, Will Smith was packing theaters in the 90s just for being Will Smith. Can we say the same thing about The Rock? Are people showing up for his movies just because he is in it? No, they are not, and Red One is another example in a long line of examples that show that.
That makes sense.
Listen, there was a time when The Rock was just leaving professional wrestling where I was a fan and I really wanted him to succeed in Hollywood. And if for nothing else, I wanted him to succeed just so he would keep the spirit of those iconic action movies that I grew up on alive. But that's not the direction that his career went in at all. For some reason, The Rock chose to get in the business of making movies that nobody asked for. And even when he did venture into more traditional action movie roles in movies like Skyscraper, what we got was something that felt very out of place. A mountain of a man, a larger-than-life individual that for some reason is obsessed with trying to play the everyman character. The Rock desperately wanted to be Bruce Willis or Kurt Russell when he should have been trying to be the next Schwarzenegger. And don't get me wrong, I love Bruce Willis and Kurt Russell, of course. But The Rock does not belong in those types of roles.
Besides that, it's all in the reflexes.
And this is something that I never thought that I would say, because he had almost unlimited charisma when he was in WWE. But he doesn't show an ounce of that charisma in any of his movie roles that would be required to make some of these characters work. I just do not understand where the disconnect is coming from. There appears to be zero self-awareness coming from either The Rock or his camp in general. A movie like Red One is an incredible waste of resources. You can't help but feel like that $250 million could have been put to better use elsewhere. I mean, that's life-changing money to most people, and Hollywood basically flushed it down the toilet to create a movie that no one's going to remember in a week. I think studios seriously need to consider making movies on more modest budgets again. Especially movies, apparently, that have The Rock in them. At least then, if the movie sucks, then at least you won't have to make so much to either break even or potentially turn a profit.
Y'all be cool. Right on.